Okay, so what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen are the pairs that we'll be analyzing today, but make sure you do stay to the end of the video. As always, there is a bonus pair in store. If you guys do want to skip ahead to the analysis, feel free to go and do so. The timestamps are below. I'll quickly go through my trades for the week first, take a look at the DXY, and then we'll go through some analysis. So let's get started. So I had no new positions this week. I did have two positions which I was carrying over into this week. One which I was trailed out of early in the week, I believe on Monday. I did have some longs. Actually, let me go to Oanda. So nope, that is gold. Just trying to get to silver. There we go. So this was the position I had from actually a couple of weeks ago now, but I was holding it over into this week. It was consolidating for quite a while, and as you can see, did take me out of the position. I did secure some profits as we did break structure, taking out that high, strong push above it. I did trail stops to break even there as well. So I did walk away for a small win. It wasn't a complete break even, but the move I was looking for, momentum back to the highs, never really came in. Did see a nice initial move, but price fell to make new highs, consolidated, then price did turn on me there. So I'm happy with the trade, happy with the management of the trade. Not every trade is going to be a big winner, but I did my job in that position. Then I did have the CAD Yen shorts, which I took, I believe, last Wednesday. And I held that over into this week, and that's starting to play out very, very well. Had some really nice downside. My stop loss is currently trailed to where this is at the moment, 109.7. My stop loss is trailed there. We have broken through some key structure here, breaking through that support level. So that's where my stop loss is trailed above. I'm trying to be very lenient with my stop loss, not trying to be too forceful, because I'm pretty confident with the higher time frame bias. Things do look good with this one. So I'm going to be very lenient and not to get trailed out too early and leave some positions on the table. So we'll see how this one goes. The short came up there, and I do think we can push all the way down to the 104, 103 area even. So that is the plan with this trade, but we'll go into more detail about CAD Yen. We'll actually take a look at later in the video, and of course we'll look at some opportunities there as well. But before we start off the analysis, we'll take a quick look at the DXY. I am looking for more downside this week for this one. We did finish the week pretty bearish, as you can see on the weekly candle, very strong bearish engulfing candle, and essentially all we've done is just reject 107. So with this strong rejection, I do think we can see more downside now for USD, potentially a couple of weeks. If I do map out the range here from the low to the high using the fib, we've got more or less the 50% around this area here, which is around 103.5, around 104. So that's potentially where we could see price go. And we do have these bigger ranges. I do like mapping out the midpoint of the range, because that's always a healthy place to target, because price can be a bit stubborn sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't go all the way to the low of the range or all the way to the high, but if you can map out the 50% of a range, there's always a good chance price will make that push, especially if you're seeing evidence of price rejecting the high or rejecting the low. Now, at this point in time, we're seeing a really strong rejection, so there's clear evidence that price is failing to break through the high, and there's a strong chance we could see some downside, so potentially to the 104 area. Dropping down in the 4-hour chart, we got a nice head and shoulder pattern there as well. So you got the left, you got the head, and possibly the right shoulder could be forming soon, which is kind of what I'm waiting for. And a lot of positions look like we could be forming that right shoulder when we'll get to them. But we've broken through structure now with the DXY. So that's a key point, a key piece of information. We broke through structure with a lot of momentum. Now I'm looking for the lower high afterwards and some more downside from that. So that's really the opportunity I'm looking for next week. And targets, looking at this area here, looking at this area here. And as I said, the 104 area as well as the midpoint of that weekly range can be a nice point to target, but that's up to you how aggressive you want to be. That's really what I'm looking for next week for the DXY. In terms of Euro USD, pretty much the exact opposite. As we can see, if we go to the weekly chart, we're seeing strong rejection of this low here at 1.05, strong candle closure to the upside, not as tidy as the DXY, because we do have a pretty big gap to the upside, but essentially price is holding that low, DXY is holding that high. Good chance we're going to see USD weakness, good chance Euro USD is going to push up. And if you do drop to the 4-hour chart, you can see we are getting that head and shoulder pattern, the left over there, the head over there. Now possibly the right shoulder could be looking to form. and a push to the upside, and of course this is your neckline. So there's two opportunities which I will be looking at. One is waiting for that right shoulder to form and looking for buys on the retest, so something like this, or the more conservative option, waiting for price to actually break structure first, because we haven't actually taken out that high yet. And if you look at the DXY, we took out that low, so waiting for price to break through structure, then looking for some pullbacks, maybe even a retest of that neckline of the inverse head and shoulder pattern. Could be a nice opportunity to look at. And again, targets, looking at this low here, looking at this area here, basically mimicking what we're seeing for the DXY. And I think the 50% of that weekly range is around 1.08 for Euro USD. Again, just more or less the average of the range. Doesn't have to be exact, but more or less around 1.08 is where we're looking for price to get to, which is roughly that area there. So expecting more upside for Euro as long as we stay above 1.045 and 1.05. I'm looking at our upside. Those are the opportunities that could look to present themselves. Maybe we don't get the retest of the high there, so that is obviously a risk to run. But if you're waiting for the more conservative opportunity, you would wait for that break of structure, then look for some pullbacks afterwards. But yeah, as long as we can hold that level, I do see a lot more upside for Euro USD, especially looking at the DXY. If it looks like USD is going to do the opposite. So that's the plan next week for Euro USD. Okay, so over to USD JPY. So I'm very bearish on this one. We had a really nice candle closure on the weekly chart. If I quickly scale there, you can see really aggressive bearish close, and it looks like price is trying to get back underneath this level here, which was my one kind of query with dollar yen, which is why I wasn't so bearish on the market, because we were breaking above such a significant level on the weekly time frame. But now it looks like we're coming straight back underneath, and the momentum is definitely kicking in back bearish. So we possibly are seeing the continuation of that drop in July. This could just be a very large correction of that. Now momentum is kicking back bearish. We possibly could see the continuation back to the lows there at 140. So I'm very bearish on dollar yen, especially if USD is going to continue to fall. It looks like yen's going to continue to be strong as well. So if that does continue, dollar yen's going to continue falling. We've broken through key structure as well, taking out that swing low, taking out this swing low here as well. So now going forward, I'm looking at shorts. Now my preferable area to short dollar yen is still this low here at 153,500. That would be my ideal place to short. We had the prior swing highs here, 1, 2, possibly could see a third one there. However, price has been so bearish, still a lot of momentum in the market. We might not see such a deep correction. So something like this might look the more realistic opportunity. Could be a nice trade in the lower time frames. And again, you're still looking for continuations. In terms of targets, I'll probably be looking at the swing lows on the left here, because price could go very, very far. Like I said, back to 140, but we're probably not going to do that in 1 week. So these are probably your areas you're going to be looking at, 149, 148. In terms of the opportunities, this is really what I'm looking for dollar yen, pullbacks to these areas, and then some more shorts. Like I said, we might not see the deeper pullback, which I'm after. So pullbacks into this area here, 151,800, look the more probable. But if the market is going to be a little bit bullish at the start of the month, that potentially could happen. Keep an eye on that area there, 153,500 would be a great place to hold some shorts for dollar yen. But there's a lot of momentum, so probably going to see something more like this next week. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, more downside and expecting dollar yen to keep falling. Okay, so next up we've got dollar CAD. So dollar CAD looks like we're having a bit of a fake out on the higher time frames. I'm not very convinced how the weekly, monthly candles have been closing. We did break through this level on the lower time frames, but judging on the higher time frame candlesticks, which have more importance, it does look like we might be seeing a big fake out. Essentially, not a confident breakout at least. Because as you can see on the monthly chart, we have slightly closed above this high, but nothing confident. We left behind a big wick. The overall candle is not far off a doji as well, so I'm not quite convinced with the breakout here in the monthly chart. And scaling down to the weekly as well, we did have that nice candle closure a couple of weeks back, but this candle provided a big wick to the upside there as well, not really showing continuation of that momentum. So that does look like we potentially are getting a big fake out, especially if USD DXY is going to drop from 107. That probably will take dollar CAD to the downside as well. And on the flip side, if that is the case, there can be some really nice shorts following this fake out, because if we can go break structure, which is this swing low here, we need that to happen first, because the market is still creating higher highs and higher lows. So we need that to end first before we can start to look to sell the market, and especially get back underneath that higher time frame level. If we can see a drop like that this week, that will really confirm the shorts and really confirm the fake out. And at that point, we're looking for corrections and continuations, and possibly a retest of that low would be the trade I'll look at. It will depend on how we break out, how we pull back in terms of which level I'll be looking to short from, which we'll find out as the week progresses. But I'm no longer convinced to the upside anymore, especially with how the weekly, monthly candles are closing. So now I do want to see that break of structure. It's in line with my USD bias as well. And then we can look at some shorts around 1.394 and some more downside. Again, lots of targets to aim for. Targets there, targets here. And quite frankly, if that is a fake out, we'll probably go a lot further than those two levels. But for now, I think that looks like a realistic proposition there. So that's kind of what I'm looking for dollar CAD. Still a lot of momentum needed to break that structure first. So we'll have to be patient for that. But that is what I'll be waiting for next week for dollar CAD. Okay, so over to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound, we've had a bit of a mixed week overall. I think we've closed a little bit bearish. Yeah, big wick to the upside. So it looks like price is struggling to see that move I'm looking for. We are still trading in that massive area of support in the monthly chart, and we haven't broken through it yet. So I still would be bullish bias on Euro Pound, even though we have closed bearish. If we did close bearish below, that'd be a different situation, but we're still holding that area of support. But it does look like there is some momentum still to the downside left before we might see a big push. So going into next week, I think we're still at a nice area for a buy. You can see price has held this area on a number of occasions, 2, 3, of course this was the big fake out, 4, 5, and potentially 6 as well. So the market has rejected this area numerous times. We could be seeing another bounce there. If we do break through, there could be some nice shorts on the retest back into that price swing low, because this is what happened the last time price broke through that level. So if we do break through the level again, there's a good chance price is going to come back into that low, especially if the trend here is just going to continue, which it has been bearish in fairness. Of course, we're coming to a big support, which is where I'm expecting it to reverse from, but we're still not really breaking through structure yet. The market has really failed to get going. So if we do break through that support, we probably will come back into that low. So despite, whatever your bias is really for Euro Pound, there are opportunities in both directions. If you're short, I'd wait for that level to break and look for some retest. If you're long, this is still a great place to long. Price is still holding that area, haven't broke through. And if we can hold it next week, see some nice rejection early on, could be some nice buys right back into that same area of resistance. But price keeps rejecting over here around 0.83500. So that's kind of what I'll be looking at in terms of the buys. And of course, the shorts there in terms of the break and retest is what I'll be looking at in terms of the sells. But not the biggest fan of Euro Pound, to be honest. There's a lot better markets out there. Yen pairs are falling out the sky. So looking at pullbacks on a lot of those pairs at the moment. But if you're looking for Euro Pound, there's still opportunities there. Just want to focus to see what happens with that level, and then that will provide the opportunity for next week. But that is the plan for Euro Pound next week. Okay, so over to Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar, I'm still looking for a bounce for this one, for some upside. Of course, I'm pretty bearish on the USD as well. So naturally, USD pairs I'll be looking for upside and downside on USD. But we're not really trading out to any significant area which I would be happy to long from. I'm still been talking about this level here at 0.64, which is where I'm still waiting for price to get back to before I look for any buying opportunities. At the moment, I did talk about some shorts at the start of the week on the retest of this low, which we did see some nice moves from. Didn't really get us back down to 0.64, but at least create these nice lows here at the first test. Second test came back into the low, and pretty much now we're just consolidating really. So price action isn't looking particularly great for Aussie dollar. Maybe if we do see strong momentum break into the high, there could be some nice buys on the flip. So retesting that level now as support and looking to take Aussie to the upside from there, especially if USD is weak straight away next week. We might not see that test of 0.64, which is what I'm looking for. We might just push to the upside from the current price. So if that's the case, there could be some nice buys on the break and retest of that area. But again, it's nothing that will excite me into a trade. It's just an opportunity which, if you look into long, that's probably the best opportunity you'll find there with Aussie. But this is really where my confluence lies and where we got that area of significance. So that's really where I want to be focusing my buys around 0.64, looking for evidence, break of structure, and then find some longs from that area, similar to what we have with Euro USD coming to a big level. Looks like structure is changing and about to bounce. So that's really what I'm after with Aussie dollar. Bullish now. We've already had a big drop, so no longer interested in the shorts, and now we're just consolidating anyway, so I'll kind of stay away. So looking to see if we can get the break and test at 0.65 or have a deeper pull back into 0.64, but I am looking for a bounce next week for Aussie dollar. Okay, so next up we've got NZD CAD. So NZD CAD, I was really bearish this week, looking for a lot more downside. We had a really strong close, breaking through this ascending channel on the weekly chart, as you can see there. So I was looking for price to continue to sell off and hopefully come back into the lows all the way down here, but doesn't look like that is the current plan. At the moment, the market has closed right back above that trend line and is giving potentially a big fake out of that trend line, and now might be seeing a big push to the upside. There is one obstacle in the way though, which is this descending channel here. We've got first test, second test, now coming for a third. I think this still looks like a really nice bearish setup here to take it back down. I just wouldn't be too aggressive because, like I said, on the weekly chart, price is definitely respecting the low end of that channel. Daily, you can see that as well. So there is that possibility that price might want to have a big swing to the upside now and possibly continue this ascending channel, this trend, even though it's been so corrective, which is why I was expecting it to break to the downside, because normally you don't see trends like this sustained too often. But maybe we are going to see that break to the upside. So it's going to be very important to see what price does here, because if momentum continues next week and we see a strong push to the upside, that's going to be an indication to me that, okay, we probably are going to see a swing back to the highs there at 0.86. If not, if we do fail at the highs here, we could come back down, but of course you're coming back down into bullish territory, so you have to be a bit careful. Price is testing a much stronger trend line underneath us, so I think the shorts do look good here. We could be seeing the third lower high, and who knows, maybe even break to the downside. So naturally this is a nice place to short. If we can see some more rejection early on next week, I think that's a great place to short. Just not looking too optimistic with the targets. I think if you get a trade back into 0.82, that's a great trade in itself. If you do go and break through, wait for the breakout, we'll look for opportunities afterwards. And of course, if price does see a strong break of the high here, that trend line, that's an indication to me that, okay, we probably are going to buy off here and probably push back to the highs there. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Back to the highs there, 0.84292, and probably eventually the highs there as well. So on the flip, there probably is some nice buys if we are going to respect the low of the channel and just continue that weekly trend back to the highs. So that's an opportunity to keep an eye on for. But right now, still rejecting the channel. Looks like we are seeing some nice wicks down the 4-hour chart too. So if that can sustain into next week, expecting that area to hold and at least push down to 0.82. But if we do break out, keep an eye on the retest. But that'll be the plan next week for NZD CAD. Okay, so next up we've got pound NZD. So pound NZD, I'm looking for more of a daily swing with this one. If I zoom out, you can see the higher highs and higher lows the market's still making. I'm looking for a push back into this area of confluence for another bounce around 2.13 and possibly a swing back to the highs, but probably won't hold into the trade for that long. I do think the bigger move to the downside is to the downside for pound NZD. In fact, if I go to the monthly chart, see a little bit clearer. That is definitely not the monthly chart. There we go. It does look like we've got a massive impulse to the downside here, and this is the correction. This is the correction of that impulse. I do think eventually we're probably going to see a big move down, and now we're trading at the top end of that wick. This could be the areas where price does decide it wants to see some downside. So I am wary of that, but the current market structure is still bullish, and this is still a nice bullish area of confluence. And again, like I said, I'm not necessarily looking to take it back to the highs there, even if I can get a push third of the way. I'm probably still looking at a nice 1 to 2, 1 to 3. I'll trail stop, see how far we can take it. If it does push back to the high, fantastic. If not, I won't be too upset about that. But you can see how corrective price is. So that's giving me another indication that we probably are going to see a push to the upside. This is not really price action you would see just before a market does reverse. Probably want to see heavy impulsive price action, breaking lows. This is very, very corrective. So I do think a bounce to the upside is likely as well, looking at how price is moving. But this is really where the confidence lies for me. 2.125, waiting for price to get there. It's been probably 2 weeks at least since I've been talking about this opportunity, but we haven't quite got there. And hopefully maybe next week we'll see that. But to be honest, pound NZD is not the highest pair on my watch list, so I'm not too bothered if we don't get there next week. I'm still mainly focused with the yen, but if you do get there, I'll keep an eye on it and see if we can get some longs and some entry signals. But that is the plan next week for pound NZD. Okay, so over to CAD yen. So CAD yen, I'm currently short from the high here. I'm still looking to add more trades to this position because I still think there's a lot more downside to be had with this one. If we look at the weekly chart, momentum looks very, very bearish, very strong close this week. Price is holding on to this level very, very well. As you can see, prior rejections a couple times over there, again there as well. It looks like we're seeing a repeat of that this week with that candle close. So I'm expecting price to push back down to the lows here now. It does look like the momentum we had in July, we're just seeing a correction of that. Momentum's kicking back in again. So I do think there's a very high chance we do push back down to 104, 103. We'll probably eventually break through that area, but you know, for now we'll just concentrate on that level. So yeah, with that close there this week, just looking at pullbacks and more downside. The only thing is with CAD yen is that was so bearish, you're probably not going to see the pullback I'm after. I'm looking for the retest of this low here. That is still my number one area to short CAD yen from, which is just underneath 109.5. But because the market's so bearish, a lot of momentum, we just saw the weekly candle close there. We probably won't see a pullback bigger than this area here, which is around 108.250. A correction to that area, retests, maybe entries on the hourly chart, probably will be your best bet for a decent pullback. If that as well, price might just keep falling, but a pullback to this area does look good nonetheless. A pullback to that area there looks great, but I just don't know if we have enough momentum next week to see that happen. Of course, we'll wait and see, but this is more likely the opportunity you probably see with CAD yen and a lot of the other yen pairs as well, just because how bearish everything is. But yeah, looking for the push all the way down to 103.5 really. That is the plan. In terms of next week, I think this is a healthy target there around 105.5. Of course, that'll be up to you, but I do see CAD yen really falling to the downside. So that is the plan next week for CAD yen. Okay, so over to pound USD. So pound USD I'm pretty bullish on, expecting more upside. Really nice inverse head and shoulder pattern. Looks like it's forming. You got the left shoulder there, you got the head, and of course now I'm looking for the right shoulder with the break of structure above that high. Basically what the DXY is doing, but flipped. Now I'm looking for that high low and the continuation back to 1.285. I think that's a really healthy target to have. You know, if USD is going to be weak, there's a good chance pound USD is going to push up, of course. You know, the pound strength and weakness will play a part, but most likely we'll probably see USD weakness take control of the market here. So I will be looking at longs around 1.26, 162, and there could be some nice shorts to take it right back down again. There's still a lot of bearish momentum in the market. We've had some really heavy sales breaking through some key swing lows. So now that is, you know, now the market is retracing, we could be seeing some nice opportunity to take pound USD to the downside once we do get back to 1.285. So the plan is still looking for longs. Maybe we do get the shorts as well next week, so keep an eye on that. But this is really the move I'm looking for because I am expecting USD to have another drop next week. So that is the plan. But keep an eye on 1.26, 162 for next week. Looking for a higher low and a continuation back into 1.285 next week for pound USD. Okay, so over to pound CAD. So pound CAD, I really like this opportunity. I've spoken a lot about the yen pairs and how I like them a lot, but pound CAD is definitely another opportunity which is on the watch list for next week. In fact, we've seen some really healthy retracement already, so I might be looking to get into shorts for pound CAD pretty early on. As you can see, we had this long-standing bullish trend for pound CAD, which looks like it's finally met its end. Really strong move to the downside over the past few days. We had really nice higher highs and higher lows. We formed that double top there, broke structure, broke the trend line, and now I'm looking for the pullback and continuation of that bearish move. Dropping to the 4-hour chart, we've got a nice level of support, which price tested a few times before the strong break. We haven't yet come back for the retest, but looks like we are about to. So it's a fresh area of resistance, and an area which I likely do expect to see a bounce from. So keeping a close eye at that level for some shorts. Hopefully you can get some entries at that area, and if we're lucky, maybe a swing back down into the prior low at around 1.75. Risk reward looks very good, so probably looking at 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5 plus, maybe, depending on your entry. So it's a really nice opportunity, which does provide really nice potential in terms of the gains if the trade is successful. But the plan is to look to catch that first lower high in this bearish trend. I'm expecting to fall £4 CAD. So keep a close eye on 1.79. A lot of momentum in the market, looking to find the next lower high for continuations back into that prior low. Okay, so over to pound yen. So pound yen, another yen pair. Really like the price action with pound yen. Not my favorite yen pair, I must say. But I do like what I'm seeing on the higher time frames. It does look like price is about to give us a really big drop. We had that big drop in July. Again, looking at this as the pullback of that. Now I'm expecting a continuation. This to me looks like the first lower high in this new bearish trend, which I'm expecting to form, and a really confident close on the monthly chart as well. Bearish engulfing candle. I like the wicks to the upside. So I do think now we can go and fill the wicks on the left there and see a push back down to 182, 180, and probably a lot further as well. And the issue which I'm running into with the yen pairs is the same, really. It's just that the market's very bearish. I tend to look for bigger pullbacks when I do look for my opportunities. However, I don't think we'll have the bigger pullbacks because the market's just been so bearish. I have highlighted this area here, which is a similar area to dollar yen and CAD yen. Other yen pairs we've looked at, we might see pullback into 192, retest this area, maybe some nice entries on the hourly chart, and we'll be on our way. Maybe we might see the bigger pullback into 194. I think that's a nice area for a short there as well. If I do whip out the Fibonacci from the high to the low, I believe we've got the 50% near around those areas. So yeah, from current price, we've got the 50 lining up. Maybe if we fall a little bit further, might drag 0.618 into play as well. But that really is my preferred area for pound yen for a short. It's just, will we have the energy to pull back there? Possibly. I'll stay on the lookout for it. I'm not going to write it off and just not look for the opportunity, because it might happen. But I feel like this is more a realistic opportunity just because of all the momentum we're seeing. So keep an eye on 191, 800 and also 194 for some shorts for pound yen. I do think eventually we're going to push to 184. But you can probably look at some structures here on the left to take profits along the way. But that really is the plan for pound yen for next week. Okay, so next up we've got gold. So gold, I'm not a big fan of. I am overall still bullish on the market because we did break structure to the upside last week. However, structure isn't particularly clear, and we broke through the level which I was looking to buy from, which was this low here. Had a really big sell-off this week, and we are bouncing off the low at 26.10. So in terms of looking at buys and sells respectively, I do think there are some nice opportunities back off that same low at 26.10, 2600. If price was to come back there again, I think we could go through another bounce. Whether we continue back to the highs or not, that's a different question. And in terms of the sells, I do like this area here. Nice area of supply, big drop to the downside. Also lines up really well with the high there on the left at 26.78. And as you can see, the market is still pretty corrective there too. So if we keep this up and get back to that same area, there's a good chance price probably does respect that level, and we do see a nice push back down. So overall for gold, I would be looking in terms of just opportunities for shorts and for longs, rather than trying to put a long-term direction on gold. I mean, long-term direction would be very bullish, but in terms of what we're going to do next week, the week after, we're not really seeing much clarity there, because although we did break structure to the upside last week, we had a really aggressive sell. Now seeing corrective moves to the upside is not really the characteristics I want to see of a market which I'm looking to aggressively buy. So that's why I'm a little bit more kind of just on the fence of gold. It's not really on my watch list next week. Maybe if price was to take the highs out, I'll be looking for pullbacks afterwards. But for now, I do like these sells and buys respectively. Just looking to try and play the range and what the market is doing. So keep an eye on shorts around 26.78, longs around 2600, and that will be the plan next week for gold. Okay, so over to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, I said this last week, I said I was looking for a bit of retracement because although the market was looking pretty bullish at the time, that previous leg to the upside was very corrective, lacked momentum, especially compared to the other legs we had in the past. So I have looked for that retracement for Bitcoin. I did talk about this range. We have seen a retest of that. I wouldn't be too surprised if we do see another retest before push up, because the market looks like it's a bit fatigued again. We do have the highs here, and I do think we'll probably need a little bit of energy to go and break through that. We do have 100k mark just above price. I do think Bitcoin is likely to go and hit 100k very, very soon, probably within the next week. Next time I do this analysis, we probably will be trading around 100k. Let's see if we are. But we might have a dip first before that push. Maybe we just go and break it in one go, but in terms of a trading opportunity, at least you do want price to come back down into this area. We respect that once, could respect it twice, and effectively that's a nice place for an entry. Put a stop loss below, and of course you're looking for that up move to 100k there. So in terms of the opportunity, it looks good. In terms of how pricing is moving, looks a little bit fatigued, so we might push down one more time anyway. But in terms of direction, looking at buys, looking at more upside, 100k just above the high. I do think we'll hit it pretty soon. So keep an eye on 92k, where we had the test last week. We might have it again, and then we might go see the upside move we're all looking for. So that is the plan next week for Bitcoin. Okay, so last but not least, we've got a bonus pair, which for this week is Aussie JPY. And I really like the price action with this one. Really clean break to the downside. We've had a range on the daily chart for a while now, and price has finally put an end to that. We've finally broken out that range, and again, it's another yen pair. So I'm very bearish on these yen pairs, Aussie yen included. Looking at the weekly chart, if we scale there, you can see a lot of momentum there in July. And to me, this looks like the correction of that, especially with the big shift of momentum this week, breaking out that range. So I do think there's a high chance we're probably going to continue that momentum back to the lows here around 94 and potentially a lot further as well. So the plan is really looking at pullbacks and more short opportunities back to that low over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. Scaling down to the 4-hour chart, I really do like the level which we broke through 99.5. So this level here, again, it would be very nice if Aussie yen can have a pullback to retest that area. But my expectation, because how bearish we closed on the week, based momentum on the intraday time frames, it looks like we might just see a pullback into this area, which is 98.5. Looks like the more realistic area to see some opportunity to short Aussie yen, maybe in the hourly chart, and ride that momentum. Like I said, in terms of targets, I do expect price to go very far. So this could be a nice position to trail stops, maybe take some profits along the way, but try and maximize the opportunity given what higher time frames are doing. But yeah, it would be nice to see a pullback to 99.5 here instead of 98.5. But it just depends on momentum, how much bullish momentum we'll see, how big of a pullback we'll see. Yeah, we'll find that out as next week unfolds. But the opportunity is there if you're on the lower time frames. The opportunity is there if you're looking for more of a deeper pullback, 4-hour pullback. Keep an eye on both. But in terms of direction, it looks pretty crystal clear. Unless something crazy happens next week, there's a good chance we are going to keep falling. So that really is the plan for Aussie yen, looking at pullbacks, and hopefully can find some nice shorts for next week. And that, guys, does bring us to the end of the analysis. If you have found it useful, please show some love, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're finding the channel helpful, informative, educational. It does really help out. And of course, hit the bell whilst you're at it so you don't miss out on any streams or uploads in the future. Comment down below any markets you're looking to trade next week. I'm eager to find out. But guys, I really do appreciate you tuning in. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you all in the next one.